that's a story, okay? But what I know too, Paul, is that you collect stories.
Yeah,
You do what we're here to do today is to collect the stories of Northwest African Americans
okay.
living and growing up here in the Northwest. But what is it that you do?
Well, that's interesting because after my career at this aerospace company, I was videotaping the research work I was doing, and I honestly just got burnt out from the computer science development side. I never really called myself a programmer. So I got laid off, unfortunately, in 2009. And during that time, I wanted to shift my career from this research side, application development, to get more into digital media. And so I've been going around saying I want to be the next Michael Moore, Spike Lee, Ava DuVernay, Ken Burns, and who's the photographer? Gordon Parks, all put together, right? For years I've been saying this. And so what did God do? He gave me a job as a photographer. In addition to that, he's given me the opportunities to record conversations with people. And I work at a volunteer at a little small independent nonprofit studio called Multimedia Resource Training Institute. It's on the corner of 23rd and Jackson. It's an Ethiopian brother who runs it, and he's got his 501c3. In 2002, we got a grant from the city to do and teach private citizens how to do video production. And I've used his studio to record people like Dr. Charles Mitchell, Dr. Millie Russell. I've gotten a grant from the Black Heritage Society to record conversations with African American high school attendees of the 50s. So I've got Dave Holden Jr., I've got Dave Holden and George Griffin Jr., and I've got a couple of other people that I've interviewed from that vein. But I've got King County Sheriff Sue Rahr. I've got, she's a Lieutenant Colonel Kim Scott, who is an Air Force reservist and flies for Alaska Airlines. I've gotten people like that. I was able to record Chris Hopkins. I'm trying to remember his last name. He's an artist, and he paints the Tuskegee Airmen, and he paints them so well that the Air Force has taken his paintings, and they're going to install them in their museum there. And so for the Museum of Flight actually had his exhibit on display for about a couple of months before they took it to the archives. But I've Seattle really grew on me. I didn't realize how diverse, and I've gone around saying that every single aspect of American culture has been affected by somebody that was either born, lived, or died here in Seattle. From Bruce Lee to Jimi Hendrix to Quincy Jones and Ray Charles. Now we've got Nirvana and Sir Mix-a-Lot, the band Heart. You know, that's just musically. And even now today, there's another R&B who just did a show here. I can't remember the name, unfortunately. They're platinum.
Oh, at Bumper Street.
No, they played. I think they played at the Key Arena. Ardmore, not Ardmore. You ask any of the young brothers like these guys, they'll know who they are, right? So anyway, so yeah, I mean, that's just musically. And the artwork, a lot of artists that came out of here in Seattle. And then if you go to technology, of course you got Microsoft and Boeing and Amazon, and I think Google's here. And actually, what was it? Adobe has offices here. And so, but then you go to medical, and so like some of the first heart transplants were here, and dialysis machines was built here. So, yeah.
I think that continuing to collect the stories and have those stories available for public access, and I know yours are available online.
Yeah.
Is that we continue to collect the stories.
I am still trying to collect
share the
stories. Yes, I am. And so through the Black Heritage Society, I've gotten in the whole jazz network. And so I'm talking with people that were in the book Jackson After Dark, which is a classic jazz book about the way that Seattle was back in the 50s and 60s before integration really took off. Because that is the African American community was so powerful, and because of segregation, we helped each other out, you know? Because we couldn't go anywhere else, we stuck together. And so Jackson Street in Madison, I never really realized that even east of Madison, down into the whole Montlake area, there's a large African American community over there. Now it's really kind of upscale because of the whole gentrification and stuff. But yeah, it's fascinating to see how Seattle and every city is going through this, the whole gentrification thing, and how when a city gets made, all the black people are put in one place, really close to downtown, and then white flight happens, and then 20 years later, they want to come back, and unfortunately, the prices skyrocket for the homes, and the parents at the time are now elderly, and they're looking for a quick buck, so they sell their home. But then if they sell the house, they have to move because they can't afford So there's a whole another discussion about that whole thing.
And I'm hoping today that we're going to hear some stories about people who lived here in the central area,
right,
even pre and post World War II,
right,
and their stories about living in the central area and how things have dramatically changed since that time.
Yeah.
So I say we maintain the history, we collect the history, we work together.
Yes, definitely.
On collecting the history.
Right. Yester Terrace is a really good example about that, because I understand that Yester Terrace was the first low-income, racially integrated public housing in the country, right? And now it's being fought. Well, they lost. I mean, it's being fought over because it's prime time real estate. They want to build skyscrapers there. So the city is saying they're going to try and keep the numbers the same as far as percentages, but they want it, dual use, dual income kind of stuff, where you have commercial, low income, moderate income, and high scale. And we'll see if they can do it.
What happens with that? Well, Paul, thanks for stopping by
Oh,
and
sure.
talking to us.
I didn't
And
say
hope
2
that-
hours, but
No, but I hope that we can talk again sometime
we will.
about
We'll be able to.
collecting the stories,
Okay.
and particularly with the Black Heritage Society.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Cut.